Jessica? Sorry.
Your vision you expressed last week felt unclear to some of us. Can you clarify what you believe this upcoming year would be like?
Mm-hmm. Well, I've always had this idea in mind, and that's that idea that I emphasized in my speech, that it really is all about community at the end of the day. So I tailored my vision towards that. So concisely to explain it to you, I'll repeat what I said in my speech. So my vision is that we will continue to grow and thrive in this community and build relationships and form memories, and we'll continuously grow to get better at that. Last week, I didn't want to sound like I was far-fetched in what I was saying. I've learned so much this past year, especially in the limits of what our e-board can do, what I can do, but our biggest task lies in the support that we can offer one another, right? So that means the most concrete thing I can offer you is the support for that community. Diana, oh sorry.
So,
Yeah.
so an important part of being president is communication and being able to foster a space where people are free to talk. And as a part of board, sometimes that wasn't always the case.
Yeah.
So how would you tailor your communication style in order to, in highly stressful situations, how would you change your communication?
Right. In the past, I think overall my communication style has been really open and responsive, and I think that's demonstrated in that I'm always there replying on Slack, always giving my 2 cents at eBoard, and always engaging with everybody by kind of outlining or always bringing up kind of logistical issues that we could possibly run into, and I think that's important when we're working on a team together like this. I do agree with you that sometimes in times of high frustration and stress, I can sometimes be short with others and can come off as rude and inattentive. So in the future going forward, I think the best thing I can do is kind of reconsider my words and always really holding my listeners in the utmost respect more than anything else and considering the other's perspective. I learned a lot in OT school about catering to a lot of different needs and communicating, because we work with from kids to adults, so we learn a lot about communication, and I think what I'm going to do this past year concisely is just reevaluate my communication style when interacting with different people and making sure I'm catering whatever I'm saying to the needs of the task and the person at hand.
Darla, so we heard a lot about your strengths and your experiences.
Right.
What would you say are your weaknesses, and how are you going to work on that in order to be like a better leader for the org?
Mm-hmm. I think the biggest weakness that I've shown this past year in eBoard is that I do let myself rule with my emotions a lot of the time, and that kind of takes over my actions. Overall, though, I think that emotional experience is valuable just because I think you learn the most about yourself and your values through conflict and through these emotions. Like, I learned about my values that lie in loyalty, and I think that allows you to have a long-lasting impact in each other's lives. We wouldn't grow if it wasn't for this conflict, right? But I do agree that moving forward, it's important for me to be really cognizant of all those emotions and to always bracket them whenever necessary, and always keeping that in mind. So practically, I'll tell you my entire process when ever I'm feeling stressed or frustrated now. I think what I really try to do is it's useful to take a step back and just really breathe and reflect, and also think about who I want to be in this moment. What image of myself do I want to convey, and how can that facilitate better relationships and an overall, I guess, clear decision making and team building overall. And then beyond that, also looking for support in the people around me. I think reining in my emotions with other people is really the only way that I can have a better, clearer headspace and understand why I'm feeling in the entire situation. So concisely, I think it's just about being cognizant of those emotions and really taking the time to reflect on that.
One more question.
Jose, oh sorry.
Jose.
Do you have a question? Okay. So as a GM, we are often unaware of the behind-the-scenes actions of what happens in TroyFi, especially for eBoard. And sometimes we get the perception that like how eBoarders react with us can be sometimes exclusive
Right.
as a GM.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes we just feel like we're bystanders while everyone else is just like part, instead of being active participants of the TroyFi family. So like strong leaders like Joseph and Rachel have used not only just their leadership skills, but also their compassion and genuine care to actually further those relationships with the GMs who may feel left out of TroyFi.
Right.
So how have you impacted us, like the GMs who like maybe don't show up as often as everyone else? How have you impacted us to make sure that you can create a family with us without letting us feel like left out behind, you know, left
Right.
behind, yeah.
I guess, so in addressing the first part of your question, I think the first people I think of when I think of interacting with GMs, it's funny that you asked, but it's with Skit, I think, because that Skit was composed of both interns and general members. And I think that it was through that and through like collaboration with stagehands that it kind of, I guess me and Matt facilitating that group every week, our goal in mind wasn't just to like hone in on your theatrical skills. We were always thinking about your personal growth and your further involvement in Troy 5. When we were casting, we thought about who these people are and what they're going to bring to the club eventually. So every week we definitely tried to foster that sense of belonging and a new sense of like, you wouldn't have these friends if it wasn't for something like the skit. So I think we just tried to establish that overall bonding atmosphere, and I think that in itself had an impact, I would hope, on our general members, but I think also just me being present at PACN practices and at events and reaching out to you and asking how you are kind of played a role. But tying into that for the future, I think logistically in terms of facilitating better interactions between e-board and general members, it's hard for me as one person to say I can break down that barrier, but what's harder is for somebody to walk into this room and feel left out, excluded, and like they don't belong. And that is something I definitely struggled with in the beginning of Troy 5. So I think just one overarching logistical idea, I'll go quick, that I had was kind of having e-board facilitate groups during GMs. So for example, like somebody like who's Diana would be assigned like 5 people, and when that general member walks into this room, they know that they can look for a familiar face in Diana. They know that there's somebody there waiting for them to talk to them. And that not only gives you a better connection to your e-board, but it also allows that general member to have a platform for any confusion. And it also allows for connections that probably wouldn't have been made otherwise, because these people in your group are probably not in your KA line, they're probably not in your year. So that's just kind of like it's kind of hard to think about because our GMs are so casual, but I think facilitating something as simple as that would really allow for our connections to be stronger and allow for a better foundation to be built overall, which is what we need for this community.
Thank you.
Thank you guys.